Hi everyone, and welcome to the Virgo August, but now into September as well, 2021 Love Connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete for each sign, generally each month to a month and a half, where we focus on some aspect of connection. So we start with our self-connection readings, which is focusing on our connection to our unique internal authentic self and looking at any blocks in that area. We then have our spiritual connection reading, which takes a look at how we are authentically connecting our unique internal authentic selves to our spiritual purpose and any blocks that might be coming up in there. And then we have our love connection reading, which is this reading, where we take a look at your connection to the general energies of love and also your connection to interpersonal connections as well, and looking at any blocks that might come up. Now this reading is more of a free-form reading as compared to my other two readings, and this reading, just like my other 2 readings, focus on utilizing the Triad of Engagement, which is a coaching tool I've developed that utilizes the principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation to help bring these very general messages into a more individualized message for you by allowing us to focus on questions that you can ask yourself throughout the month to really bring home the messages that are coming through here, and again, apply them directly to your experience versus this very general message here for the collective. All right, Virgo, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a card here that is going to allow us to tap into the principle of curiosity. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the energies around the card that comes out and build in a question that you are going to ask yourself throughout the month to really kind of help open yourself up to some aspect or area that needs attention in the theme of love. So the card that came up is vulnerability. And I love this card. It says, this is confirmation that you're seeking to tread into the unknown, unfamiliar territory where decisions are based more on intuition than rationality. Don't let fear hold you back or allow a misguided sense that feeling vulnerable is somehow a negative condition. And what I love about this card is it shows here I don't know if you guys can see it here, a green leaf kind of in where the heart would be with this individual. And there's almost like this kind of dead tree and twigs coming through. And what I love, or what I always feel that this kind of shows, is that we may feel that we have to protect that vulnerable single little green leaf that's starting to blossom within us. That element of, and I love the vulnerability message here that's coming up, because when we think about the energy of love asks us, it requires us to be vulnerable. Because in order to really tap into the flow of the energy of love, where we can give love as much as be open to receive love, we have to show ourselves as ourselves, which means we have to show ourselves even at the most vulnerable level. That those parts of ourselves that we're afraid to show others, those parts of ourselves that are our uniquest element, those parts that make us a truly individual, unique being separate from all others. And why is that? Well, that's because in order to be loved by another, we have to show ourselves as we are. Just like we also have to, in order to give love in its highest form, we have to tap into those best parts of ourselves, those vulnerable parts that truly are what make us unique, to be able to give love in our own unique way. And also to be able to respect those parts of ourselves so that we can respect those in others. And Virgo, you are a sign that your superpower is that of the healer. So you have this very strong ability to be able to help bring that healing energy, that supportive energy of love to others. But often what happens is when you're so focused on giving that to another, that you can cut yourself off and actually create a block from receiving it, because you almost don't feel worthy. You focus so much on everybody else, and then there's this component of like, no, I don't need it. And in reality, You do, because you also have this part of yourself that also needs healing, that needs nurturing. This little leaf is meant to blossom into a great tree. And when we keep the most vulnerable parts of ourselves hidden, oftentimes we don't allow them to grow. We don't allow them to be expressed. And we don't allow others to be able to help us express them. The beautiful element of the energy of love is that we get the chance to utilize the supportive energy of love, that we get to tap into allowing others around us to support this part of ourselves, to support this beautiful little green leaf to grow into a beautiful tree in our external environment. And that's important because really what I believe personally is that not only are we as human beings designed to want and need to find meaning in our personal experience, but we also need to, once we start to feel into that meaning, we need to connect that with others. We need to see how that benefits others in addition to ourselves. And that's how we start to really be able to see and experience our spiritual purpose in our external environment. We start to understand, this is what makes me unique. This is my tree. This is, if you think of the human collective experience as a beautiful forest, this is your tree. This is the one that people will walk by and say, oh my goodness, look at the beautiful different leaves or the different shape, or look what this tree can provide versus another. So, to build in a question for the month of September around the energy of love, for you to bring this message home specifically to yourself, is what part of yourself currently do you feel that you have to hide from others, or that you feel uncomfortable in showing as vulnerable? Now, this can be where we actually try to almost gloss over an element of ourselves, where we try to maybe come across as showing this part of ourselves as strong, and yet it's our most vulnerable part. So let's say you are highly uncomfortable about a part of yourself, maybe showing that in your work world or career world. So you try to kind of gloss over it with, telling everybody like, look how great I am. I'm the manager. I, make this X amount of money. And, you're more about trying to show, in the tangible world, what you're bringing in through your efforts. But yet there's some part of yourself that is waiting to be expressed in your work environment, and yet you're not doing that. And that, so even though maybe on paper it looks like you're bringing in all this money and you have this title, you're not fully experiencing emotional fulfillment. You're not experiencing that feeling of love for what you do, love from others regarding what you do and what you're expressing. And so this is where we can kind of overcompensate even, and not really even allow ourselves to realize where we're not being vulnerable, or where we're not being vulnerable. But this can also, take a look at, when you're asking yourself this question, what part of yourself are you not sharing perhaps with your significant other? Maybe this can look like in relationships, there's an aspect of yourself that you want to show, but you think it will make you look weak. Or you're so focused on helping others in a relationship, you're not focused on bringing forward a unique part of yourself authentically, that you kind of hide that and hope that if a relationship goes on long enough, that maybe if you bring it out, then it'll be accepted, instead of just showing yourself for who you are right off the bat. And that's a big lesson I think that we can all learn at some point in love. And when I'm talking about love, this can be with a significant romantic partnership, but this can also be when you're simply introducing yourself to somebody new, or in your friendships. And even in friendships, sometimes we're afraid of judgment and we hold the most beautiful parts of ourselves back. So this is kind of the theme for this month for you, is to, when you're thinking about the concept of curiosity, it's about opening ourselves up to the unknown, opening ourselves up and admitting to ourselves at the same time that we will never know everything. So there's something here this month that you're going to discover through being curious about you in your relationship to the energy of love, and the relationship to how you are vulnerable in the energy of love. There's going to be something that's going to be kind of like an aha moment as you open yourself up to curiosity, as you step into kind of that childlike sense of, let me just get excited about what I might find. Okay, now I'm going to pull some tarot cards that will help us take a look at kind of more of a freeform look of, the message might come out that it, is in line with the vulnerability message, but it also might show maybe a person or an area, again, that pertains specifically to interpersonal connections or the general energies of love that you might be experiencing a block with and just needs to draw some attention to. And we'll see how to help navigate around that so you can really step into the supportive energy of love. Because Virgo, you guys deserve that. Let's see if there's got 2 cards that came out. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out for you. Anything else for Virgo? I'm not getting the feeling. Now, these 2 cards, as I'm just sitting with them, the message is getting very, very clear for me here. So we have the Magician and we have the 10 of Pentacles. 2 wonderful cards, especially when they're coming out together. So Virgo, I feel like the month of September, with the energy of love, it's really about stepping into self-love. Now, a lot of the messages that came through this month and last month, in these love readings, really spoke to self-love for all signs. But for you specifically, Virgo, this is coming through with that self-love, but the realization, the self-realization that you are the magician, that you have the ability to draw on all aspects of your experience. So what's great about the Magician card in the tarot is that it shows an individual who understands that he can tap into all sides of his experience, the physical, the mental, the kind of action, passion-based side, as well as the emotional and spiritual. And that at his disposal, or her disposal, they can tap into all of those areas and be able to wield each one of those parts of their experience to create their 10 of Pentacles, which is the ultimate experience of what we would like our legacy to be in the physical, tangible world. This is that realization of manifesting your heart's desire, but into something solid, something tangible. This is not really on an emotional level. This is, I have the home of my dreams. I have the career that I've always wanted to be known for. I have the family that I can pass down my legacy to. Whatever your legacy is, this doesn't have to look like I've acquired a bunch of wealth, because some people, that's not to them what their ultimate manifestation in the tangible world looks like. It could be looking like you have your own business or your own, ability to teach others, something along the lines that's going to be tangible and be physical, meaning you can kind of touch and feel it. So it's something that is here, not so much within you, but it's also something that is going to be unique to you. And that's the beauty of understanding that you are the magician in your own life. You have the ability to manifest. But in order to do that, the magician knows what his or her unique abilities are. What that single leaf can grow into, because they know how to do that. They know that they can take a pinch of this and a pinch of that and a little bit of this and grow that single leaf into the tree. And that tree is your legacy. So there is this quality here that there's something coming up right now about the self-realization within you of understanding you are the magician, and perhaps contemplating on the legacy that you want to create for yourself, the contemplation of the ultimate manifestation of you in the physical world. So when I talk about in our spiritual connection readings, you connecting your internal authentic self with your external environment, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the more that you do that, the more you see yourself manifested in your environment, in your external environment. The more that you come to the table as you, as your unique, heart on your sleeve, kind of ribs ripped open, here's my heart, the more you see your heart expand, the more the energies from what you want within will be recognized without. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull some clarifier cards for each of these, and we'll see if there's any additional messages that want to come out. So let's take a look at the Magician. What does Virgo need to know about the Magician? Anything else for the Magician? Anything else? Anything else Virgo needs to know about the Magician? It looks like that might be it, so we'll start there. Okay, so we have the Eight of Pentacles, which is so perfect. So perfect for you, Virgo, because this is another card that harnesses your energy. So this is the card of someone who is mastering something in their physical environment. This is somebody who is kind of putting their nose to the grindstone and learning how to do something proficiently. This is that making that decision of where to focus your energy and what to keep working on, which is beautiful energy with the Magician, because there's this quality of understanding that you can create whatever you want to create as the Magician in your own life. And the Eight of Pentacles is that hard work behind the Magician. So sometimes, we often can take a look at somebody who seems to have achieved success relatively easily. They seem to all of a sudden have come out of nowhere, and they have this billion-dollar company, or they're a famous actor or actress, a superstar, and we're like, oh, they just must be nice. It's like they won the lottery. And in reality, what you don't realize is that they were working and working and working and working behind the scenes to make this happen. They were putting in the time, putting in the energy, and maybe some of these people, had multiple failures while they were learning to master something. And that's what we don't see. We don't see the failed businesses before the one that finally hit. This is where we don't see the 15 years of an actor slogging through audition after failed audition after failed audition until they finally land that role that puts them in the spotlight. And this is, I feel, kind of what you're going through this month, is that realization of how far you've come. And this is emphasizing to keep going. This is emphasizing that you are mastering something, but you have to put in that effort. And as you're doing that, the effort that you're putting in here, so this is the Eight of Pentacles and this is the 10 of Pentacles. So you are just 2 pentacles away from achieving your ultimate manifestation. So this is a card saying keep going. Keep putting in the work while you understand that you're the Magician. It isn't, and I think that this is a very important message here, because a lot of times we can just be putting in the work, putting in the work, putting in the work. And there's this component of like, well, it's not manifesting anything. And in reality, it is. It's a reminder of you are the Magician, so where you choose to invest your time and energy, as long as you know what this is for yourself, this is working towards that. So again, there's this component of understanding a part of yourself that is vulnerable, and perhaps a part of yourself you haven't shared fully. So this could actually, when we're tying this back into the original question, this could look like where you have not fully, that perhaps there is something that you want to work towards, but maybe you haven't fully put your authentic self into it, that you haven't maybe shared your story. And maybe you have a business and there's a driving reason behind why you started this business that ties back to something very vulnerable within you, and you haven't expressed that. You haven't actually brought that part of yourself out. And what's being asked now is that as you're working towards this, bring this vulnerable part of share that story that perhaps is the reason why you started on this path to begin with. whether it comes from heartache, whether it comes from a previous failure, whether it comes from this deep-seated desire that you know is you and that wants to blossom into this beautiful tree in the external environment. And that's how you're going to manifest. The work that you're doing will manifest when you tap into that vulnerability and you start to share it and you start to open up from that place. Otherwise, it's just work. And you're not tapping into the magic that comes when we step into our heart space, when we step into the energy of love, that understanding that we are loved in all of our imperfections as a perfect being by the divine, as much as we need to recognize that in ourselves. And Virgo, I know it's hard for you. You know, you're a sign that can sometimes be very critical, not only of others, but of yourself specifically. And so this is really saying it's time to step away from that self-critical aspect and step into realizing that you're loved for your imperfections, for the part of yourself that is vulnerable and needs to be brought out. Okay, so now I'm going to pull some clarifiers for the Ten of Pentacles. Let's see what we have here. Ooh, I love these cards. Okay, so we have the Death card, which is in this deck, Death and Rebirth, which I love, and we have the King of Wands. Beautiful. This is showing here that you are going through, in order to achieve this, basically, again, the ultimate manifestation of yourself, of what you would envision for yourself, your lasting legacy in the tangible world. You're going through this death process right now to be reborn as the King of Wands. As to me, this is the CEO energy. The King of Wands is somebody who is a Elon Musk or a Richard Branson or an Oprah Winfrey type person. This is the individual that is strong in the knowledge of what their passion is. They hold the wand of their eternal flame, their individuality, and they understand how to yield it. And they are somewhat uncompromising in how they yield that. They understand that in order to be the magician, you have to realize what kind of magic your wand holds. And everybody has their own magic wand. We each have our own internal flame that is our soul, that is our spark, that is the flame of our individuality. And so there is this component here with this Death and Rebirth card that you guys are going through this transformation, that a part of yourself is dying away so that this tree can be reborn from what is left. So there's almost this quality of all that you've been, all of who you have been on the outside, almost this mask. Think of all the layers you've put on over some aspect of yourself as kind of the external part of the seed from a plant that's a hard casing that now is fallen from the tree and is required to kind of rot away and die, so that the seed within, that vulnerable seed, can actually be open to support from the divine and support from the environment around it, so that it can plant itself, take root, and be realized, that the plant that it's going to grow into can come to be. And that's really what I'm feeling for you guys, is that it's almost like this external mask that you have created for yourselves is going to be falling away. It's dying. And what will come out from that is not the kind of, I would say, frightened version of yourself that didn't want to show this part. Instead, it's going to be the King of Wands, someone who realizes their own individuality and someone who realizes how they can act from that place and how they can manifest with their magic wand, again, their passions realized. And in doing that, that's what's actually going to bring about this physical abundance, this Ten of Pentacles, this ultimate experience of the most vulnerable parts of yourself come to fruition in the external environment. Such a beautiful reading. Very clear too, Virgo. So this is a very powerful September, which is wonderful because it's kind of clearing the way as we move into October. October is really the kind of new year of the Zodiac year, so to speak. So it's almost like we are kind of entering into a new cycle here, coming into October, a new energetic cycle, and it's perfect timing for you guys. There's really about, again, getting clear, letting the hard exterior part of yourself die away so that you can bring forward this highly vulnerable part of yourself, release it, open it up to the air so that it can receive the support, the loving, energetic support from the universe and from just also what's around you. All right. And when we talk about kind of these cards specifically, we can utilize the energy of courage to really focus on this month for you guys, thinking of ways that you can make very clear decisions on your own behalf to allow parts of yourself that are trying to hide those vulnerabilities to fall away, and to take, decisive action to express what is vulnerable, and to express it to either your significant other, or bring it out in a workplace, or do something like this, start a YouTube channel and start talking about it. But there's some component here where it's about making that courageous decision to take action to share this part of your vulnerability. And that's how it's going to take root. That's how it's going to blossom into this, what can be financial abundance for yourself. Okay, now we're going to pull a last card here for the concept of contemplation. So something to kind of keep in mind and meditate on as we move through the month of September. So contemplation is an important principle because it allows us to tap into the energies of integration and reflection, and allows us to really take a look at where we decided to take action and reflect on the consequences of those actions so that we can continually self-adjust and to see, okay, if I did this and I didn't get quite the response I was expecting, what can I change within myself and where I choose to take action the next time that will change that outcome. Contemplation is very important because this is what allows us to not stay stagnant. It allows us to be very aware of how we are taking action from a place of authenticity and what is coming in because of that. What's the result of that? And we have the Fates, number 17, reducing to an 8. So the Fates in this deck speak to kind of more of the destined aspect of our experience. So I like to look at our external environment more as destiny. It's something that's beyond our control. This is where we run into somebody randomly somewhere and we are forced to interact with them, and that creates a chain of events that does something in our lives. Or this is where a random happening in our external environment, again, changes the course of our life. This could look like where we lose a job or a house or somebody important to us, and that is the spark for something new to come in. Versus our internal, basically our free will, where when we bring it back to our unique, authentic selves, this is where we get a chance to make the decision to take action, which is where our seat of personal control comes from. It's how we react and engage with destiny in our external environment. How will we engage with what's beyond our control? And this card kind of speaks to that, speaks to some things are just fated. Some things are beyond our control. We may be pushing and pushing in a specific area, and it may not be manifesting for a reason. But it also speaks to timing, that sometimes we expect that something's supposed to happen like this in this amount of time, and instead, eventually, it manifests in this way, which is far more beneficial to us, and which at this point we could never understand or see for ourselves. We could never see that making this decision to follow this course of action was actually going to result in this versus this. So this could look like maybe you're having a creative project, and you are maybe wanting to write a book. And so you write you write this crazy manuscript, and you work and you work and you work and you work and you work. And at the end of the day, you don't seem to be getting any hits from publishers, and you don't really know how to market it, and you've put in all this effort. But what you don't realize is that in writing that book, it got you to realize the strength of your writing, and suddenly you are able to focus that into blogging, perhaps on a topic, or somebody notices how well you write and asks you to maybe ghostwrite for them, or asks you to write in a different capacity, or that in writing this you discovered a message within your own book that maybe perhaps, although no one is purchasing your book idea, maybe now you realize, well, the message that I was actually trying to bring forward in this, there's another way to share that, or there's another way to sell that story. So maybe instead of me writing a book about my experience, I just need to get onto YouTube and talk about my experience. And so that's really where we don't realize that sometimes when we're working on something, we don't know how it's going to actually manifest. But we have to trust at the same time that what we feel we want to work towards is what we should, and that we will always get in turn as a result what we need from that. So there's this element of kind of having faith in destiny, faith in the divine, and faith in that if something isn't manifesting in exactly the way that you want, that the fates are with you, and that it will manifest in the way that will be beneficial to you, but it might look a little different than you're expecting. And so when you're contemplating, using this as a form of contemplation for this month, in asking yourself where you're vulnerable and need to kind of release and open up some aspect of yourself, take a look in contemplation and reflection as to perhaps what you might expect, what you might be expecting in the sharing of this part of yourself, or what you might be expecting from the hard work that you're putting in right now, and allow yourself to be open to another possibility, to reflect on, well, if it doesn't come out in this way, what are some other ways it can? And then to actually ask Spirit, help me stay open. Help me stay open to other ways so that I can stay true to my hard work towards manifestation, but also allow me to not miss the opportunities that could be coming in that simply because they don't seem to be lining up with my exact idea of what I want, nonetheless are actually better for me. So in contemplation, if you can build in some type of meditation this month to also say, Spirit, God, the divine, whatever you choose to call that, connection to the beyond and the unknown, to build that into your meditation. Help show me what I might be missing in my manifestation. What other areas of where I'm currently working can benefit me, can also help manifest this vision, this ideal for myself in the physical world. All right, Virgo, really great message. This is a month of, for me, looking at this is a beautiful month. This is a month of kind of stripping yourself bare, getting yourself ready to be replanted, to really come forward as kind of the full package here. The CEO in your own life, which is wonderful. And there is this element of, it's almost like no part of yourself needs to be hidden. It's the kind of that, I'm imagining Superman, kind of ripping open his shirt and showing his S and showing the world that he's the Clark. It's like Clark Kent ripping open his shirt and showing the world that he's Superman. It's kind of like that with you guys. I think the part of yourself that is the most hurt, that's the hardest part of yourself to bear open, that's the hardest part of yourself, your experience to share, that's the part that needs to be shared. That's the part that is your S, that's your superpower. Oh no, my daughter just woke up from her nap. I think this is an agreement. This is a sign from the universe. Yes, this is correct. Thanks for being patient there. So just as a final note, I think that this is, again, you being able to share your vulnerability is revealing to the world the super, the S, the superpower within you. And that's really what people are going to respond to. That's how you're going to bring towards you that beautiful, receptive energy of love. You'll see the support of others who are meant to be your support system. Again, opening yourself up to the receptive qualities of love instead of allowing that to be blocked where you're just giving. All right, Virgo, if you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. And I look forward to completing your other readings for September. And have a wonderful month.